Okay. As we walk through now, what are you hearing now?
I'm hearing a woman's voice.
A woman's voice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What does her voice sound like?
It's a very pleasant sound. It's like she's calling me to meet her down the path.
Okay. Continue down the path. And when I count now from 3 to 1, you will arrive and she will speak to you. 3, 2, 1. Arriving now with this woman. Mm-hmm. And what is she saying to you?
She's greeting me and she's happy to see me. We have met here before in this space.
Okay. Is this Kalila?
Yes, it is.
Oh, very good. Hello, Kalila, from us both. Do you have a message for us? Anything you want to talk about?
She wanted us to go into the house.
Okay, do you see a house?
Yeah, there's a house
in
front of us.
Who's walking first? She is or you are?
She is. She's opening the doors.
Okay, follow her into the house. Okay, and what do you see inside the house?
This big room. It's a big room. We've been here before.
Is this the French mansion?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Is this the same room where we looked at your papers?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and what is she showing you now?
She's showing me there's another room that we need to go into.
Okay.
It's a library.
A library, very good. Okay, continuing now. And we're entering into the library. And what is Kalila doing now?
She's going over to the desk or table, and she's showing me the papers that we had worked on before, and that they are very important documents. And she's saying she wanted me to see these because for me to remember the work that her and I have done in the past as far as exploring the world. But she said we also was connected to other beings from other realities. And she wanted me to see those documents where we wrote about those encounters.
To you?
Yes, she's showing them to me.
Okay, what does she have to say about one of these encounters?
She says, this is the people that you've known in the past. These beings, they are the blue avians. And she says, you know them, and that is your family. That is who you have known for quite some time. And she said, they told you a lot of information in this lifetime that you wrote these documents.
So you were channeling messages from them?
Yes, they actually appeared in the room when I was writing them. They was telling me to dictate what they were saying. And so I wrote down on these documents what they were told me.
Please tell us about one of these messages.
One of the messages she's sharing is that they are friends of the earth and they are here to help the people living on this earth, and that they have protected the earth from many different other beings from other realities from hurting the earth more than what they have done. There's this huge effort to remove the dark aliens from the earth, but that has not been accomplished, and it will take much more time.
Where are we now in the process?
Mm-hmm. She looks at the time, and she wrote the time down that I told her to write. And that was that in the what you refer to as 2000 and 000 beginning, you will start to hear more and more about their efforts of the blue avians. And that as you get closer to the year 2019, you will start to feel their presence. They will try their best to reveal themselves, but there are many things that keep that from happening. And so they said, it will take more time. It will take more time for them to reveal themselves.
Okay, so it will not happen this year. What can Devin do to facilitate this process?
What Devin can do is what he is doing. And what he is doing is learning about the many different writings that have occurred during his lifetime of exploring the knowledge that's already there. What he is told is to continue to study the different people that he's been studying. He got into Dolores Cannon, and he studied, I believe it's Jack Schwartz.
Robert Schwartz?
Robert Schwartz.
Okay, yes.
And he studied also a man by the name of, the name does not appear here, but he's studied many different beings of his lifetime, in his time period. And so he's getting more comfortable with the information coming. And in doing that, he will be more available to receive direct information from those beings.
Okay, and as far as like a message for the world, what kind of message can we have now that isn't just specifically for Devin?
Mm-hmm. It's important that people center themselves and be relaxed, and not be so closed-minded to the possibility of beings coming from other realities to help. They're here to help. They're here to help. What also needs to be, he also needs to share the information about how the earth has been run up to this point. It has been deceived by its own people. There's many beings who have been taking their power and using it for their own good and our own selfishness, and not helping humanity. If those people have actually took things from humanity for their own personal self at the people's expense, and many people have suffered greatly because of the small group of people who have deceived the world. They will be exposed, and they will be dealt with in the most appropriate way. And the aliens are here to help make sure that this process is a safe process. However, there will be much upheaval. People will be frightened because it's something they've been deceived and now they see it and now they don't know who to trust. So it's important that the people who are in the spiritual path keep themselves centered and be totally balanced in their emotional and mental state.
And what kind of activities, or I mean, what kind of action will should regular people take?
Well, the most important thing is to not overreact, but to trust their own self. The more, if they haven't learned how to meditate, that would be a very beautiful gift. And to read many different spiritual teachings. I say spiritual because those have ancient knowledge. The religions are great, but they have been diluted and misinterpreted. So it's important that people receive beings who have channeled or who have worked on bringing the information to the surface.
Now the blue avians,
Yes.
when they were evolving the way we are in the process of evolving, what were some of the spiritual principles that helped them? The main thing is to see that they are all one, that they all have a connection with each other, and they love themselves. They do not judge themselves harshly. Each blue avian has learned to really love themselves. And in that, once that is learned, then they know that they are one with all other beings, all other realities. They had to go through a tremendous learning, but they didn't have some of the difficulties that we have created here on Earth. It was not easy, but it was easier than the Earth transition. Well, it's not so much the dark aliens as much as our own selves that we're dealing with. It's like those people who are taking advantage of other people. It only can happen if we don't love ourselves and we respond out of fear. Fear is the most destructive thing. But if one really chooses love over fear, then that helps dissolve the fear. And in that, it helps dissolve the negative energy. Compassion is important. Compassion. Okay.
Compassion for oneself and compassion for others. But it must start with compassion for oneself. It all starts with oneself. And from that, it expands outward. By having compassion or love for oneself, that energy moves out and helps others in their path of discovering their true nature. If you understand your true nature, then the fear needs will not be there.
I see. Thank you. Going back to Kalila now, is there anything else you would like to talk about next? Will she have anything else to say to us?
She is pointing to the outside. She wants us to walk outside of the building. So we're walking outside the building.
Okay, follow her or go along with her. Stepping outside now. And what do you see together? Is she still with you?
She's still with me.
Okay.
She says, let us move. Let us move. And then she shows me that she's just lifting herself off the ground and transporting herself to another area of the earth. And she invited me to follow her.
Okay, let's follow her now. And where is she taking you?
She's taking me onto the high mountains of the Himalayas.
Okay, at the Himalayas.
And we're in the Himalayas. And we have met these beautiful beings. They're very, very bright in their beingness. They're very, very. It's almost like they have no body, physical body. It's so bright, and they have welcomed us here, and they have asked us to join them. And so we walk with them on this path. And this path is taking us into a very sacred space. It's kind of like a cave, but yet it isn't. It has, inside it has beautiful colors, amazing paintings on the walls. It is so inspiring. And one of the monks comes up to me. I call him a monk because I don't know what else word to use. Spiritual teacher, spiritual being, whatever. It doesn't make any difference what I call him, but he comes to me and he says, my beloved son, you have come and we will show you great things. Just close your eyes and you will feel the presence of great energy, a great being that surrounds you. And I close my eyes, and this beautiful feeling comes over me. It's one of great joy. It's one of great bliss, great compassion. All the fear that was in my body is gone. All the hatred that I had towards myself is gone. I feel this great joy. It's like a cleansing. It's like a purification. They say, just do not worry any longer. You are well protected, and you will all be taken care of. Just relax. Just be. And when you leave this space, you will take this energy of love and light and purity with you. You will not be the being that you once saw yourself as being. For truly, that was not who you were. It was a costume that you placed on yourself with a performance that you played with this costume. But now you have a new beingness in you that really understands. It's more closer to your true nature than you've ever experienced before.
And who are these beings? Why are they in the Himalayas?
Mm-hmm. They have lived in the Himalayas for eons of time. They have learned how to create this energy through great meditation and service. They serve humanity by sending out their love to all of humanity, to all of existence on this earth and beyond.
Is it similar to what they just shared with you, the energy?
Yes.
Okay.
And now I'm coming out of that space, out of that dwelling place with my friend, and she is very pleased by what has happened.
What does she have to say about it?
She says, you have reached this point in your evolution, and you will not be the same. You will appear to many people as the same physically, but your energy has changed. Eventually, your physical body will change to match the energy that you have just received. There is more purification that you need to go through, but this is not the time for that to happen.
I see. And is Kalila done taking you on with this visit in the Himalayas?
Yes.
What's next?
She has said that she now will take me back to the house, to the dwelling place that we first met.
Okay, go with her. And tell me when you get there.
We're back. It takes very little seconds, if you want to call it that, back to where we started. She thanks me, and I thank her tremendously. I felt so honored to be with her. She is a very pure being, and she really is appreciative, as much as I'm appreciative that we have met today in this beautiful space.
I have a question for Kalila, if that's okay.
What is the question?
Has Kalila and Devin, have you two shared another life before this life in France, or?
Yes, we did share other lives beside the one in France.
Okay, is there one you could tell us about?
There was one that's a very ancient one, that it is in another world that you have heard about, and that is in Lemuria.
In Lemuria, okay. And what kind of person was Devin, and what kind of person were you, Kalila? Were you male and female the same, or what were your roles to each other? How did you know each other?
How did we know each other? We knew each other because we were of the same family. We had the same parents who were very high in their evolution, as many people were at that time. We were children together, and as we grew, we were taught many, many universal secrets.
Many secrets, okay. What was something you were taught?
These universal secrets have been hidden for so long, but now they're coming. Many masters have talked about them. Many have shared about them. It is one of the secrets, and it's one of the basic secrets is that you can change your energy and you can transform yourself into different forms. You don't have to be, you can be very flexible on how you present yourself. But there's always reasons why you need to have it, or it's important to have different reason why you're changing your physical form. It isn't a game. It is a reason to help yourself and others.
And how do we change our energy?
It's through changing the what you call your energy field. It's a technique that you change your vibration. All it is you change your vibration. You've heard written about people walking through walls and so forth. This is part of it. It's changing the vibration. But it takes one to believe that, and also a trick of how to do it without harming yourself or anyone else.
I see. Okay, I want you to take a deep breath now and clear your mind. I'm going to count from 3 to 1, and we're going to go to a scene where you were a sibling with Kalila in this life in Lemuria. Breathing in, clearing your mind. 3, 2, 1, and be there now. See yourself in that life. Tell me what's going on around you.
We're playing outside.
Playing outside? Okay.
And we have a ball that we are we have a ball that we are floating in the air.
You're floating it?
Yes.
Wow.
And it's a game that we can play with the ball and to see if I can move it one direction and she tries to move it to a different direction. It's like playing ball with your hands, except you're using it with your energy field.
Wow, very good.
It's very funny.
And what does she look like?
She's very small. Both of us are very small, and she is she has very her. It's interesting. It's interesting because at one point I see her, she has curly hair, and the next moment I see she has straight hair. And what is that saying is that she can even change how her hair is on her head. She can change the color of it, and she doesn't have to go to a beauty salon to do that.
And what age are the two of you?
She is probably around, she's told me she's 11.
She's 11.
And I'm 12.
And you're 12. Okay. And this game that you're doing, floating the ball around, is this something that other children can do in Lemuria, or just the two of you?
Oh, yeah.
Is very common?
It's common, but I wouldn't say, most children can do that.
Okay, and what about like your appearance? Do you what's your skin tone, your build, your height? You look like you look like children in 2019, or you look like different? How do you look?
Well, the interesting thing is I wouldn't know how to describe it. We are a little different. We have our skin is a little darker than what Devin's is, or what most people, more than the white-skinned people.
So darker than Caucasian,
It's
average
darker.
Caucasian.
Yes, the average. And
Darker in what way? Like what color? Like, I don't want to put words in your mouth. What color would you describe it as?
it's kind of like a light tan.
A light tan, okay.
Yeah, it's not a dark tan. It's more of a light tan in this sense. Our head is shaped a little differently. It has more of a, it's more narrower in this sense, and more longer in a sense.
You mean like a narrow face and a long, like the head extends back, or?
Yeah, sense back.
Okay.
And
What about the face?
face, the eyes are a little bit different. They're not as round as the people living in this time period. The nose is more pointed.
Pointed nose.
Mm-hmm.
Would the eyes look like any kind of any race living now? If they don't look the same as, if they're not as round as, say, white Americans, what would
It
they?
isn't quite like the Asians, but it's somewhere, it's in between.
More like an almond type of shape? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about, where do you live?
The temperature in this area is very pleasant. It's very pleasant. It doesn't get cold or hot so much. It's very pleasant. It's interesting because living isn't like you experience in your timing. It's more of at least where I had lived, it was more of a group thing. We did not have your typical family housing. It was more of a group type of thing. People did not, they didn't define themselves as a family. They defined themselves as I don't know what you call it, a cluster of beings.
Like a clan?
A clan, yeah, clan would be a word. And that, like, being at this age of 12, I could live with go into anyone's dwelling and feel comfortable.
You mean anyone in the clan, or what do you mean?
Yes, anybody in the clan. And we shared food together, and we spent much time together. So we were devoted to each other.
Okay. In a typical dwelling, how many people live in there?
Well, that varied, but it could be up to 12 or 13.
Okay, and what about where you and your sister lived?
Mm-hmm. Well, you didn't stay in one spot. You changed different homes. You changed around. There was no, what do you call it, possession. You weren't being possessed by anyone, or, And as far as training, there wasn't like you have here teachers that, everybody taught everybody different things. In other words, you didn't have a formal school. It was like you learned certain things when you wanted to learn them.
So why would you go from one dwelling to another?
It was fun.
I mean, give me an example. Like go to learn something new, or visit different people, or what was it?
To visit, to share, to experience something different. We were always trying to experience something different. We were were a culture that did not want to be confined by a certain set of rules or her way of thinking. Now, as you grew older, as you from a young person, from a small child on up, there were certain things that you had to learn to respect and learn certain behaviors, but a lot of it was inherited in your genes, what you call your genes. You didn't. In the world you live now, it's different. You have to start. You don't remember your past history from other lifetimes. We had the opportunity to remember a lot of stuff from other lifetimes when we came in a new life. It was quite different. We didn't have to start from, bringing the subconscious to the conscious level. We didn't divide ourselves that way.
Was it just a natural ability to see your past lives? Is that what you're saying? Or was there some kind of training? Was it just natural, or what was it?
It was natural. It wasn't that you did. It wasn't that you had to learn about it. There was no veil that you have here.
Oh, no veil. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to count now from 3 to 1. And I want you to go to a scene now where you're visiting someone to experience something different, like you were just talking about. 3, 2, 1, and be there now. What's going on?
Well, I'm at a different age here. I have changed. I'm in a different part of my life here.
Okay, what age?
I'm more like 22 or 23.
Okay.
Now, I have to say something here. Our timing is different than your timing. So when I say 23 or 22, that is in your timing. That's not in the timing of where I am.
So what does it mean in where you are? What's the timing like there?
We don't have months. We don't really see time like you see it. We don't really deal with time like you see it.
Right.
We don't have instruments to say this is the time of day or this is the time of year. We don't have those experiences like that. So when I said I was 22 or 23, I was kind of making something up, trying to fit it into
something we could relate to.
Something you can relate to. What I needed to share with you, that our timing was, we didn't have really time in a sense like that. So what your question was, what am I experiencing?
Experience, yeah, you would visit people to experience something different. This was a big part of your culture, always trying new things. Mm-hmm. So what are you experiencing now?
Right now, it's like I'm learning I already knew how to levitate things, but I'm also now learning quite how to change things into different forms.
Okay, what are you changing?
Well, I'm taking this round object and I'm changing it into a square object. And of course, as I said earlier, when you change something, it isn't you changing it just to be changing it. There's a reason why you're doing. You don't reason either, by the way. But it's like, it's an instinct. It's like, okay, I want this round thing to become a square thing for a particular reason. And so you just do it. I mean, you don't have a reason in a sense. It's just that there's something that needs that you're wanting, I guess you can say reason, it's something that needs to change to a different form. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is just learning to what you call, it's like you're changing something. The reason why I'm giving you an example of changing a ball into a square. Why would I want to, why? I already know how to move a ball around in the air, floating in the air. Why do I need to change it? And it's just like learning how to change things. And there's many steps of doing that. You can change things, but there's different things you're changing. It's hard to explain in a sense in this reality. It's like changing something. You can change it, but then there's also, like you can make it alive. You can create something that will become alive.
Are you talking about changing something that already exists or creating something from scratch? Which are you talking about?
Well, that's a good point, because I started out with the ball changing into something square, a round object to something square. But the question is, so it's like I already changed the ball into something square. But what you're asking is, if there's no ball, can I just create a square out of nothing? Well, there's nothing. Everything exists. Energy exists. So you just change that energy to make it more into a physical form. From a non-physical form to a physical form. You're taking energy that exists.
Right. It's like Einstein said, matter is just like concentrated energy, right? Or something like that.
Something like that. Einstein's a whole different story.
I'm sure it is. I'm probably not the person to just talk about that.
His lifetimes in the past was quite interesting.
Oh, really? What happened?
Well, he lived in Lemuria.
He lived in Lemuria. That makes sense. If they spent a lot of their time dealing with playing with physical reality and exploring it. And tell me, who do you see with you now?
Well, I want to say that Einstein could only share what the world at this time could hear. He could say much more, but he knew it wouldn't have helped. So he kept it very simple, so to speak.
Right, like spoon feeding a baby.
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to count to 3 now, and we're going to move to another important scene in that life in Lemuria. 3, 2, 1, and be there now. Tell me what's going on.
Mm-hmm. This is a different time period, and the energy has changed quite a bit. It has been, life is more structured now. It's not like it used to be where people were free floating around. There's more structure.
More structure.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying this, I'm guessing that this is not necessarily a positive change, or is it? Is it a positive change to a more structured life, or no?
Well, I wouldn't say it was either positive or negative.
Okay.
It was different. Well, basically, why it started to change is because of fear.
Because of fear. Where did this fear come from?
Fear came from an outside source that really wanted to take the information that we knew, that we have developed, and they wanted to use it for themselves. And they were abusing that information that we had developed.
And what was this outside source? Where did it come from?
From outside of the planet Earth.
Are these beings that came to live on Earth, or just took it back with them, this information, or what happened? There's some interaction with the Lemurians.
Yes.
What was this interaction? What happened?
What we discovered was that we used our information and it got into the universe. And there was a group of beings who wanted to use this and make sure that they could use it and kind of bring it to where we wouldn't be able to use it. So there was this fear. They did a lot of techniques to create fear.
So it sounds like you were all very innocent and somewhat susceptible to being influenced.
This is true.
And how did they instill fear in the people?
They started to use our knowledge and use it in ways that were not a benefit to anyone, and actually became very harmful.
Can you give me an example?
What they did was they took there is this what I'm seeing is this stream of light that we set out into the universe. And what they ended up doing was taking and using that stream of light and changing its frequency. So it became more of destructive energy than a positive energy. It became very destructive. That light, then we had to stop sending it out into the universe. The light was to bring love and joy, and they used it and distorted that. They had that ability, those beings who wanted to really, they did not want that type of energy out into the universe.
Is this, are you talking about sending out like a positive communication and energy?
Yes.
Okay. And who were these outsiders? Where did they come from?
From another area of the solar system.
Oh, within our own solar system?
Not our own, no.
The galaxy, or
outside of our solar system.
Okay. And why did they come here? Just to use what we had, or what you had?
Yeah, and they also did some abusive things to some of the to the people in our culture.
Was it almost like an invasion?
It was like an invasion.
And how did they abuse the people?
They took some people.
Well, they took them.
And they used them, and they created fear in them. Why did they create fear, you ask? It was to control them.
Okay, so did they want to become like dictators? Is that a good word, or?
It was, if you create fear, you can control them.
Okay, so the Lemurians are very kind of innocent then, and
they were very beautiful beings.
Oh. So what happened? What happened?
It's almost like you call it in the holy text of the Garden of Eden.
I see. So what happened to Lemuria? Were they able to Were they able to recover from all this, I guess, corrupting influence, or did they fall apart?
No, there was a migration. Some of the people left and gone to different parts of the world.
So where did they start? Where was Lemuria based where was it first based in the world?
Where was it located?
Yes, where was it located? People say it was in the Pacific. Is it on a landmass that still exists, or was that land covered with water?
Well, the land was covered with water. There is dwellings that you can, that they are discovering, but they have not shared much information about what they discovered.
You mean this is being kept top secret?
It's kept
covered up
somewhat.
These dwellings are above ground or underwater?
There is some above ground and there is some underground. But the migration was very significant because a lot of what came out a lot of people ended up in different parts of the world. But one of the examples, or one of the areas, is Egypt.
Egypt? Okay. And what happened when they went to Egypt? Were there people already there, or did they just use the land themselves?
Well, there was people dwell there, but they took their knowledge and their wisdom and with them, and so you have some of the ancient dwellings has to do with knowledge that was given by the
Lemurians?
Lemurians.
Some of the ancient dwellings?
Mm-hmm.
Like what?
Well, part of the understanding of the pyramids, for example, was knowledge that the Lemurians had brought. They also knew. There was a lot of information that was, because Lemuria kind of dissolved in its own way. A lot of the knowledge that of ancient dwellings around the world is from the results of the migration of the Lemurians.
I see. Okay. I'm going to count now from 3 to 1, and I want you to see now what happened to the land that was Lemuria. 3, 2, 1, and tell me, what is the image that's coming to your mind?
The image is that it was a big explosion, and also there was a lot of flooding.
Okay.
And when the explosion, there's many ways that took place, but you also had a lot of the earth was shifting. The earth shifted at that point, causing great havoc all over the world.
I see. A lot was going on then.
The earth changed a lot.
What kind of changes happened? I'm sorry, continue.
The landmass, some of it fell and some of it rose up.
Mm-hmm. Did the shapes of the continents change?
Yes.
Can you describe some of those changes?
What you call the Americas changed quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But you also had there's certain islands that was really part of a bigger landmass. Hawaii, for example, is one of those situations. Hawaii was part of a landmass that totally went under.
What was Hawaii? Just like the top of a mountain range or something?
Yes.
Is that why it survived?
Yeah. And the poles had shifted.
The poles shifted. Okay.
And then it's hard to describe. It's just like everything. It was the most chaotic time. It wasn't the only time that the poles had shifted, but in the time that we're talking about, it was quite dramatic. It was quite something to experience.
And were there people living in other parts of the world that were not part of the culture in Lemuria?
Yes.
And what was going on with them? I guess they were also trying to cope.
Yes. So when the Lemurians came and the abilities they had, they shared that with the people. But Lemurians also lost a lot of their secret knowledge.
Okay.
They couldn't change things so much. Well, they could, but they couldn't share it with the people they were living with. It was too dramatic.
And is there like one place now where people could discover a lot of this Lemurian knowledge? Is this like in Egypt or somewhere? Is it still there?
The knowledge is, but it is quite hidden at this point.
Hidden by whom?
Well, first by nature, but also you have places like the Vatican who have a lot of knowledge that have been kept very secret.
Right. Okay. Okay. I want you to go back now.
There is small groups who have a lot of the knowledge, a lot of the secrets, but they know that this isn't the right timing even now to share it. But they're also seeing that the information is coming out through various means. It's coming out. It seems slowly, but it isn't. It's coming out quite fast. In the next several years, a lot of knowledge of how to create things out of what seemed to be nothing, creating physical forms out of non-physical forms, is coming to the surface. Some of the ancient knowledge will come very quickly. How to heal people will change drastically. The doctors, how they are treating their clients is very, what you would call very barbaric. A lot of things that we consider high tech is not.
Right.
But all this information is coming, and it's coming quite quickly. Some of it is already here, but has not been given to the public to see.
I see. Is there anything else we need to share about Lemuria?
No, I think that is sufficient at this point.
Okay. I have a question I want you to see yourself now back with Kalila.
Yes.
And I have some questions about Devin. Now, Devin showed me these he drew these symbols. It looks kind of like some kind of ancient language that he just doodled. Mm-hmm. What are these drawings he made?
Yes, those drawings is a language. It is what they used to do in Lemuria. They had that type of language. It is what he wrote over a period of several, actually decades, is knowledge that he got, his soul was putting on paper It has never been read by anyone or interpreted by anyone at this point. But one day he will meet someone who will be able to interpret his writings. They are writings that are very ancient knowledge, very secretive knowledge, secretive from this society, secretive from this time on Earth. And it was secrets that the Lemurians knew about. I say secrets, it wasn't secrets to them, but it is to us. It was common knowledge to them. And the reason why they have never been talked about or shown or interpreted is because the timing has not been right. Eventually it will come to be the right timing, and there will be someone who will read that. And it may even be Devin himself. But at this point, they are kept in his files. He has a file of them.
Okay, so these 4 pages I'm looking at now, these are all related to Lemurian knowledge. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, actually universal knowledge.
Universal knowledge.
That the Lemurians had.
Okay, thank you for that. Devin has an issue with spasms in his back.
Mm-hmm.
What is this coming from, and what can he do about it?
Mm-hmm. He is good. What is that's all about? It's a doorway to get to the acupuncturist. She does more than just. She's very intuitive and very knowledgeable, and she not only will work with his back, but she will work with the trauma that's in his body. So she will be working. That's just symptoms of trauma, and she will uncover it and release it for him. It is from another lifetime, and she will release it.
Would it be good in a future session to go to this life where this problem originated? Would that help, or just let him deal with it with the acupuncturist?
The acupuncturist, this particular situation, is for the acupuncturist to deal with. Because when she works on his body, she will realign it. It's out of balance, and so that's part of what's happening. It's out of balance, and so she will balance the meridians in the body.
And this trauma from the body to the body, how much of it is from earlier in this life that Devin has had, and how much of it is from that past life?
Mm-hmm. Part of the trauma is from this life when he fell from a hay rack. He was very high. The hay rack was full of hay, and he's in the very top, and he fell straight back. And so he picked up part of the. So it was a dramatic experience for him. But it also was known that there would be a time in his life when he would remove that energy that's captivated in that. It's not so much. It's a memory that he holds on of that event. It was kind of planned. There was a planning for that to happen, and there was a plan for it to be resolved. Just like when he fell a couple of years ago, that was planned. That whole thing was planned, and the healing was planned the way it was supposed to be.
And is he fully healed then from that fall, that recent fall? Or what is there anything left he needs to do?
No, that is healed.
Okay, very good. What about the fall from the hay rack?
And that is healed to a certain extent, but as I say, it was planned for that to happen that in the time it happened, so that to affect that particular part of his life. But now it's time to leave at this particular time.
And it sounds like Devin has a special connection to this acupuncturist.
Yes.
Who is she? Is she part of his soul family? Was this planned, her being part of his life?
Yes, this was planned to be part of his life. She and him had been in other lifetimes together and actually were healers together.
Oh, very good. Two other issues. What about his calves? These bother him sometimes. What is this about?
He just needs to do exercise.
What should he do more of to help his calves? Stretching or actual calf raises, which is like working the muscle? Stretching or like working it out?
Stretching.
Or both?
Well, both, but stretching will help him a tremendous amount.
But he does a lot of walking though. Shouldn't his calves be in good condition?
No.
He needs
stretching.
something.
Stretching is different. It lengthens it. Walking just it doesn't stretch it.
So when you say exercise, you're including stretching.
Stretching, like he showed you earlier this evening.
Okay. And what about his lower back?
That will change if he, now that he is reminded that the calves affect his lower back, that he can, if he stretches his calves, then his lower back will
It'll help that.
It'll help that.
So he doesn't need to do the lower back exercise I talked to him about.
That would also help.
Okay. I could show him that. Okay, so we're coming to an end here. I just have a question for our future work together. This is something I don't want to go into now at this time period, but has the soul of Devin ever been involved in, ever had like a life as what we would call an elemental, such as like a elf or a fairy or something like that?
Yes.